So you started out, you started out as a nursery.
I'm an electrician by trade. My wife's a nurse, an RN. And we bought this place in the 70s and mid 70s, I think. And it was cherry orchard then. And we kept working at that. And then we got into the plant produce business. It was, well, it started off as produce before we bought this place.
Produce, you mean like lettuce,
Beans
tomatoes?
and peas and yeah. And corn, and it was, our kids were in junior high, and so it was something for them to keep them busy in the summertime and make a little money out, keep them out of trouble. And then we got this place, and it was cherries at the time. And the plant business, we thought we'd sell, when we started the produce, we thought we'd grow extra plants and sell plants. Well, this friend of mine said you can't make any money selling produce, vegetable plants. You have to grow flowers. And so, okay, well, give me a dozen of the best sellers. So I started reading books, and we started selling flowers.
Like what, like zinnias and that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, marigolds, petunias, geraniums, alyssum, just the basic stuff. And so that's how we got into the plant business, and then we heard the produce thing was still going, and the nursery kept growing and growing. I mean, it was just always on the edge of out of control, kind of like what we are with the winery right now. But it was always just growing. Okay, how many more do we need to plant this year, or how many more do we need to plant this year? It was always that way.
Yeah.
And then we started growing all these unusual varieties and got into the shrubs and trees and.
But you're still you're still an electrician.
No,
you're done with that.
The nursery grew so much that first I quit. Well, my son broke his neck and was in a wheelchair, and so I really didn't want and couldn't work out of town at that time, and the plant produce deal was going so big that someone needed to be there all the time anyway at that point.
Yeah.
And then after a couple years of more growth, then my wife quit, and she's always ran the sales end of everything.
Yeah.
And I kind of hide out here in the fields and on the farm. And nobody gets to see me. It works out just right.
Yeah. So how'd you get into wine and into?
Well, the plant deal kept growing so much that we got out of all the produce except we used to take watermelons and cantaloupe up to Montana and delivered to like 14 stores locally around here, and then had a retail business too. And the plant business kept growing so much that we got out of all the produce except for the pumpkins, and we quit those in 2000 or 2001. And that year we did about 2 million pounds for Albertsons and Safeway, and we delivered everything.
Holy cow.
We delivered from Cle Elum, Washington, all the way to Livingston, Montana on Albertson stores, and did the Inland Empire for Safeway.
Wow.
And the plant thing kept going, and so it got down to where it was just plants, no produce, except for a few pumpkins. And then it was what are we going to do with this ground that we had? Well, there was no money in orchards, or I wasn't going to put an orchard back in, and the grapes were up and coming, and so we planted this in 01, I think. I can't remember. Somewhere around there. Yeah, we picked the first time in 03, so we planted this in 01.
And so what is it, what is it about the wine industry or the vineyards that attracted you? I mean, was it a financial thing? Was it?
Well, I always liked to grow stuff, but it was more of let's get something on the ground, and the grapes in the wine industry was really making its big boom, and so let's put grapes in.
Yeah.
That's looks like it's going to be the future.
Yeah.
And then it became, well, let's make wine out of our grapes. That was easy said.
When did you start doing the wine then?
We actually bought a little bit of fruit in 02, and then bought a little bit of bulk wine to go with it, and did 600 cases or so of 02. And then we picked our first crop in 03, And we've been buying fruit from Prosser and other areas for diversity in the varietals. And we still do. And it's just grown. We went from 600 to, what did we do? 03 it was 600, 02 was 600 and some, 03 was getting too old, I'm going brain dead.
Well, what are you at now?
What did we do this year?
Just under 6.
Right around 6.
5,800, 6,000 cases? Wow, that's pretty good growth.
Well, we've always been sold out, and the wines have done really well. We've won just tons of awards, and so it just keeps just kind of like the nursery deal was. It just kind of is rolling. We built a place out on the highway for 5,000 case. It was going to be barrel storage, bottling and bottle storage, but for 5,000 case winery. Well, we haven't finished it yet completely because everything's grapes and wine. Everything goes in that direction.
Yeah.
And we outgrew it for, we started that in 04.
So that's where, like, you have your really neat little log cabin
Yeah.
tasting room. That is so cool.
We'll go out there.
Yeah, that is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that just kind of is on hold. And you can see the bottle machine's not out there, it's sitting here. And we've got our 06 vintage in the cave. We brought the 05 back here and bottled it here. So that's what we're going to have to do to make it work.
So now, the cave, what's the cave?
Well, it's an underground barrel storage.
It's in that hillside right behind the cabin.
Oh, okay.
Shrubs
Oh, yeah,
there.
okay.
It has kind of a Z
Okay.
design.
You know, I was kind of focused on getting in, and and I kind of looked at your cabin because like that is very cool.
Yeah, that's made out of juniper.
Is that what that is?
Out of John Day area.
Wow, those are some pretty nice juniper.
And the guy that does that is an artist. It's one of like 4 in the world. He's doing a house for a guy that owns Snowbird right now down Texas, a ranch style home. I think it's like a 7,000 square foot home out of that.
Wow.
But it's just agonizing because he does this Swedish scribe. There's no
chinking in there.
Yeah, there's no chinking.
So
it's
he
all
carves out and then sets the other one, and it's got to be exactly carved so that it matches the top one. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
So now, what? Because like we're looking at all of Oregon, I got to ask you from your perspective. It's like what makes like the wine from this area different than the wine from, let's say, Southern Oregon, where like the climate is maybe a little bit the same, soil's quite a bit different.
I think they get a little more moisture down there. Soil types. I think the Missoula flood has a lot to do with it. But we didn't only just have the floods. We had some hellacious dust storms that blew a lot of dust in here.
When did those happen?
I can't remember. In my FFA class when I was in high school, we went out and took a look at some of the layers, in washes that had came in from flood layers and dust layers. And then we also have our own floods out of the mountains here. So you've got a real diverse soil types. It's just extremely complex, some of this rock came from Canada in the Missoula floods. So, and you've got the same thing down there in the Willamette Valley. Some of those. Ours
only went up to about 300, 400, maybe to 800 feet at the most. I think.
But the ice that was carried in there carried these rocks with them, and there's rocks scattered all over the lowlands of the Columbia Basin.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things. And then this valley is. You can grow anything here. Not watermelon, pepper, cucumber, watermelon. It just anything here.
And that's because
this has been compared with. It's just we're just blessed with a great place to grow stuff.
And that's because of the climate. You got like good climate, like a sunny, and can you grow anything here?
Combination of everything. Got the water. Got great. You look at these here and the round, and actually the soil between the rock is just. It's just fabulous. It's just great. I grow corn, tomatoes, Christmas trees, strawberries right here in these rocks.
Really,
in these rocks.
That's interesting because let's see, I can't remember like a year or so ago, we went to La Rioja in Spain, and that's what their vineyards look like.
Yeah.
It's just it's like just rock.
And
Yeah.
but between the rocks have a tendency to float. You could, when I was row cropping this, you could turn the ground. The first time you knock it down, you rolled all those rocks down, and as you work the ground, the rocks come up to the top.
Oh, is that
And
right?
so when you don't turn the ground over, then you end up with rocks on top, and so it looks like it's solid rock.
Yeah. Huh. That's
And
interesting.
but there's stretches down through this vineyard even that are dirt bars. You'd have a really heavy rock bar where the river changed paths as it went down through the valley, and then there'd be a place where there's no rock at all.
Huh.
And it's it's kind of tough to farm. You can always watch your drier, your rockier areas. They'll tell you when to, because they're the ones that are going to need.
Yeah.
But
What's
the soils, is kind of rich and use a crop. So a lot of guys around here will bury canes. Now that's
They bury canes?
yeah, bury them in the ground to keep them from freezing. Then if it freezes, they'll put them on the wire, and that'll be their new cordon.
Wow. So like if they hear like it's going to be really cold, like they actually just take them.
Oh,
like,
they're doing it now. They've got them laid out on the ground, ready to put. Some when we snow on the ground, so a lot of guys are just laying it on the top of the ground and holding it down with a rock.
Wow.
Because usually when we have real cold weather, we have a layer of snow.
And so that just insulates
And so
it.
that
And
insulates
then they don't
at
have
that
to bury it.
point,
They
yeah.
just let the snow bury it.
But we've got sites in warmer location out there on state line. That was the breaking point kind of on the grapes is like 10 below.
10 below.
Yeah, it's just roughly in that area is where you really start getting serious damage. And that out there was 20 below. This was 12 below. The new place up there was 5 to 7 below.
Wow.
So, we would have had a full crop if we'd have had the vineyard in up there at that time. So,
Huh.
and that's one of the reasons we put it up there.
Yeah. Huh.
And just the diversity in the fruit, just.
And what is it, you say the diversity of fruit, like because of the soil types and that sort of thing, or?
Yeah, you can take exactly the same plant and plant it in 3 different locations, and you're going to have 3 completely different structured wines. I mean, juice out of those 3 different sites. It's almost like they're different, different varietals or a different clone or something. But, it's just the soil type, temperature, just a different environment. They just taste different.
So what is it that causes that difference? Like, is it like minerals? Is it
All the things, the soils, the minerals, the temperature, the exposure, sun exposure, the altitudes, just everything,
Yeah.
And so farmers farming habits, and all the above.
Farming habits. Talk a little bit about farming habits, like the differences in farming habits.
Well, we're in the 2nd year of getting certified with Live, which is IOBC, which is a world organization recognizing sustainable verticulture. And we have a local sustainable verticulture group here called Vinea.
Vinea,
Vinea.
V-E-N.
Oh, the sign's out at the winery. I'm the world's worst speller, so.
Oh no, I'll compete with you any day.
No, you're a writer. You start it with an F.
Oh, yeah.
That's me. But anyway, this is.
Don't start it with an F.
Yeah. So this is sustainable verticulture, and it's a real. It's not organic, but it's real close. We use real soft chemicals. I don't have a pesticide application license anymore. I don't need one. I'm not going to use anything. I'm not going to use anything anywhere that I would need one. So, and we do very, very low inputs. We do no herbiciding. We hill and hoe everything. So we hill weeds over, and then we hoe them with a mechanical hoe, or go through by hand. And a few sprays, and well, you saw the compost out here. We recycle everything. We clip up our our prunings into little sticks and let them drop right on the ground, right on the row.
So they compost faster.
Yeah, well, and they'll break down, but that way you can go through there and hoe without everything getting tangled up. So
okay.
instead of having to shoot that long, we just cut it up in little pieces and let it drop in the row, and then we recycle everything back to the vineyard. The only thing we take out of the vineyard is the juice.
Yeah.
Everything goes back. And then we
And
also
so you'll take like all the skins and you'll spread them back out into.
Yeah. I have to use some special any live things that make the soil healthy. You know, things that worms feed on.
Do you have worms here?
Yeah, they're here. And up at the ranch, that was a wheat and pea farm, so they turned that ground until the soil's great, but that's a whole different world up there. You know, we have to do a lot more up there. Bark mulch, leaf mulch, along with our compost, and soft rock and humic, and you know, just
What was that? Humic?
humic acid. And I mean, we do a lot of, but it's all organic stuff. Just a population of little living things that back in the ground, and the worms will come back. And so we don't till the ground. We're thinking of even going to, instead of hilling and hoeing, you know, which that's turning the ground and that's killing the biology in the ground, you know, to an extent, that we're thinking about using steam. So when the plants are real small, go through with the steamers and just heat the plants up, and it damps them off and they'll die. So we're looking at setting that up this winter and getting away from the hilling and hoeing either, just for healthier soils. And less weeds, because you don't get them all when you don't spray. So, and then other farmers, they use sprays for everything, you know, and we'll call all kinds of fertilizers and stuff. We use seaweed. Sometimes we'll to spray with, you know, just for leaf feeds, for the nutrient values in them. I just put some molybdenum on up at that location, because there's a shortage in the ground up there, and the plants just molybdenum's a really important micronutrient that metabolizes, lets the plant metabolize all the good stuff that's in the ground, so it'll grow better. If it's short in that, then the plant has a tendency to stunt and not want to grow. And that's kind of a common thing up in the pea wheat rotation deal. In fact, peas, to get them to sprout, they coat the seeds with molybdenum. Just because there's a deficiency in the ground, and the peas need that to germinate. And so, and then we put in some, it's actually a fish product. It smells just like the dock. I mean,
that's
I forget what it's called, but it's a slimy, gooey, ugly thing.
And it smells really badly. And,
and one of the hoses broke, and it covered me, and all my clothes and everything I washed with them smelt that way for at least 2 washings.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was fun. That was a good day. But you know, those are the type of things that we do. You know, instead of going in with the chemicals, the chemical fertilizer stuff, it's all about it. This whole grape deal, you can't make grape wine with shitty grapes. And so it all has, and to have quality grapes, it all goes to the soil. It's all about soil health. The healthier the soil, the healthier the plant. The healthier the plant, the less disease problems you have, the less insect problems you have. Because when you go, I can take you out in the field. I can show you where the weaker plants are, where the weaker soils are. That's what the bugs, and that's where the disease goes. That's what they attack. It's just like a lion going after a herd of zebras. They're going to go for the weak, you know. And so the whole thing is about soil health. And so you have a weak area. We've got a couple and we've been working on, and I don't know how far I'll see it my lifetime. But the goal is to not have to do anything. The only thing we'd have to add back to the vineyard is what we take out in the juice, so that it's a sustainable, just like a forest floor, you know. It will develop its own ecosystem.
Yeah.
But it all comes down to soil health. If you don't have healthy soil, you don't have healthy plants. You don't have healthy plants, you have to use more chemicals and more sprays, and you have more problems with disease and bugs. And when you get to the healthy plant, a really healthy plant, you can almost, there's a neighbor of mine who's been working a little longer on this than I have, and he's almost eliminated all sprays.
Wow. And that's a vineyard or an orchard?
A vineyard.
A vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where did you get those ideas? Because, I mean, it's been a while since I've been on farms and stuff like that, but when I was growing up, it's like we were on farms, and I mean, man, it was pesticides and herbicides on everything.
That's the way we were all raised.
Yeah.
That's the way we were all raised, and it was just, you know, it's like the wheat farmers, you know, that's the way they were raised. That's the way Grandpa did it. That's the way
right.
Dad did it. That's the way I'm going to do it. And it's turn the ground and nuke it and you know, throw a ton of fertilizer on it and let it rip. You know? But, you know, you don't, we're not trying to grow a great big grape. The quality grape is a little teeny grape, so you have more skin surface to the grape.
So where did you get this idea, though? I mean, you know, like you're breaking the mold. I mean, I hear this a lot from vineyard guys. But you know, it's like I'm just thinking, it's like you're out here, and this is like super farm country. I mean, this is wheat country. This is, you know, all those things that, like I know I grew up with was you spray the hell out of it.
Yeah. Well, this comes in the sustainability, in our sustainability practices.
It's like you're breaking the mold. I mean, you know, it's like.
Well, I've got a good friend that we make wine for, that he used to be a chemical dealer, fertilizers, sprays, and all that, and he is the guy that's really on the cutting edge of the whole deal. He could talk to you for days about this stuff. And so I have him. We made wine for him and a partner of his, and so he trades for consulting in the vineyard. He consults for Seven Hills, Bayhaw, Pepper Bridge, all of the major wineries.
Oh, who is that? That's
Rick Trumbull.
Yeah, I've heard his name. Yeah. Better write that down. Rick Trumbull, is it?
Yeah, and he's he's one of a few guys. When he has a problem with something, the way we're doing things, he has a compost facility out there at
that's his.
Yeah.
You know, I should actually run out there and look at that.
Set up there by Norm, and Norm's backing him on it, and then it's Rick Steele. And so Rick's a good friend of mine and been around forever. So, you know, he's like on the cutting edge of this. He's the one that really doesn't have a place to go. We go for him, and he researches. Like, I've got a problem with wasps this year. Wasps are really bad. What can we do? Because we want to hang some fruit for late harvest or ice wine. And if we don't do something about the wasp, we won't have anything left.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try a couple things, and it's what can we use and stay within our program, you know. And one of them is go out and treat the areas around the vineyard, and then we're going to try some stuff in the vineyard too on a block out of Dad's. And but he's the one that there's very few of these guys out there. So he just got back from Chicago or Minnesota at a seminar on this stuff, and he goes to these things. There's a guy up in Othello that they used to be kind of like enemies, but now they're on the same wavelength. They're like a step above, a step beyond everybody else, so they have really a hard time answering these questions. But it's the way of the future. It's the way it's going to be. What we're doing is right, you know. And if I live to see the results of this, I mean, it takes a long time to turn this around because of the old farming practices.
Yeah.
So, you know, so he's on the cutting edge. He's the one that's got a problem when we've got questions, and he's trying to find the answer for us to help us out. He's learned a lot in just the 6 or 7 years that he's really, really, really getting into it. And so there were a few vineyards that were ahead of us in this pea wheat ground that I'm in up there, that he learned some stuff the hard way that we don't have to experiment anymore with. He knows what the problem is. Molybdenum is one of them.
That's interesting.
And and this just goes on and on and on. And it's the things that we're looking for, you know, how the plant's growing, you know, color tells you a lot. You know?
Color of the leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right now we might be water deficient on some of this because they're getting ready to pick. Then they'll turn kind of a bronzy. The green will kind of turn to a goldish bronze color, you know. But as soon as we get done picking, then we'll saturate saturate it back.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is, you know, this is what we're doing, and there's people around the Columbia Basin that, why is Walla Walla doing so good? This is one of the reasons we're doing good here. Is because there are some really, how do you say it? Really some intense, kind of expensive farming practices is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're doing a lot of inputs, you know, organic inputs. I mean, we're doing a lot for our vineyards that most farmers won't do.
Yeah.
They won't spend the time to cut up the plants. They won't spend the time to build or buy the compost and put it on, and prune certain ways, just things that we do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, you know.
Well, I think, you know, like a vineyard has a longer term outlook too. I mean, if you choose your vines and if you choose your rootstock carefully, it's like, you know, like, I mean, there's vines that are around here in Oregon that are 80 years old.
Or older.
Or older. Those I want to know if there's any older ones. And
around the Dalles, there's a guy that's got
that's
some Riesling.
Lonnie.
He's got some 100-year-old Riesling.
Riesling in the
Yeah.
Dalles?
Mm-hmm.
Huh, there's some
We're going to try to
Zin.
get some Zin, that's it.
Yeah, there's Zin, yeah,
to
that's
Dalles.
Lonnie Wright.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see him tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, tell him we want to get some cuttings from him.
All right.
I've got some out of some 100-year-old plants out of Nampa.
Out of Napa?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I got to find a place to put them. But
There's, in the gold country in California, there's like even older, like, gosh, there was some like 120, 130-year-old Zin in that area. God, they're just monster, monster vines.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a kind of a playing with the whole deal.
Well, but see, it's like you're thinking like a wheat farmer, you know, like I don't know how
I have
long-
wheat too, so
Oh, do you?
I can't.
Yeah. So like, but see,
But
like,
but my wheat practices are different than these other guys too, and they're starting to come around.
Are they?
We no-till everything, and try to. We put on very few sprays, as little as we have to, and we watch what we spray. It's
Uh-huh.
more of a burn down, like Roundup type spray, instead of the stuff that has residuals or half-lives that go for 10 years, you know.
yeah.
And so, and one of the sprays didn't work this year, and I got a mess up there right now. But yeah, it just burns me that you pay the chemical company and then you pay the airplane to put it on, and you still got the problem. You know, we had to leave some wheat this year. We didn't cut just too many weeds.
Huh.
We let the wheat get ripe, and then because we skipped a spray. We skipped a spray in the spring because we didn't have much of a problem, and then we went in once the wheat turned. We went in and burned down the weeds to dry them out for harvest. Well, the spray never worked. It never killed the weeds.
Oh man.
And so
And you had so many. It's like we have some.
we got
people-
one place that you'll see it. We'll go up there. And
We had some people that we know, like in Sacramento, that grew wheat, but they want to grow it organic, no sprays at all.
Yeah,
And so they got a lot of, but they didn't get so many that they still harvested, and they didn't get, you know, the price.
no, they got docked.
Yeah, they got docked for that, but they were okay with that because
Yeah.
they didn't use any sprays.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, then that one weed, this is the problem I got right now, the weed's going to seed, so next
Well,
year
yeah,
you're
that's
going to have
true.
one weed will
That's
produce
true.
1,000, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And so now it's a mess. And I'm
That's
really against burning, but I'm almost to the guys are I was supposed to have some guys in there to mow it a week and a half ago, and the mower got tied up, and I don't even know where they're at now. So I hate to burn because that's our carbon source for the soils, and
You know,
I
somebody,
might put my blinders on and burn it. I don't know.
somebody was burning last night when I was driving.
Yeah, they're seeing more burning right now because the weeds have been really a problem. They're getting resistance to the chemicals, to the Roundup especially.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like they got Roundup resistant corn and soybeans, and now we have Roundup resistant weeds. You know?
Well,
So
is that
aren't we
Monsanto?
lucky?
Yeah,
you know?
did Monsanto produce those?
Yeah, probably. They probably put something in their earlier sprays that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, I wrote down all the things I wanted to ask you because you know, like you were talking. Tell me a little bit about like the wine history in this area. You know, you were talking a little bit about like the Italian guys and stuff too. Like when did that happen, and when?
Well, the Italians brought that over with them, you know.
And when was that?
Oh, around the turn of the century, early 1900s, I would say somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I think the Italians came in here a little after. Our grandma's side of the family came in here pre-Civil War, and you know, some of the first settlers here in the valley. They dug a hole in a hillside and lived in a cave for the first winter, and then Grandpa's side came in just post Civil War, and so they're some of the oldest families, you know, in the valley. I'm probably related, you know, to all those people, you know. But so the family's been here a long time, and the Italians came in not too long after, and they brought this from Italy with them. I mean, you know, vino, you know, and so a lot of them they all had their little wine deal down the basement, a little like apple press, you know, and they have their little barrels, and there's still quite a few of them around. They don't let go of it. You can go in and look at Grandpa's stuff, but not too many of them are making wine still. Leonetti, you've heard of?
Oh yeah.
That's Gary Figgins, and that was part of, you know, Italian family background. And
that's interesting.
then there's and they were one of the first ones. And then there's we made some wine for Licati. That's another old Italian family that they're starting to do Italian varieties: Barbera, Sangiovese, Muscat, and some others.
Well, what did these first families? What did they bring? What kind of fruit was that?
I really don't know. You know, I know the one old patch down here, just a little home patch, was called it Black Prince, but there's another name for it.
Black Prince, huh?
Black Prince, but there's another name for it. There's a name that we recognize. I can't remember what it is.
Okay. I'm gonna Google that and see what we come up with on that.
I'm not a computer guy, so I have my wife do all that stuff.
Oh, is that right?
She gets tired of me. Well, you're just gonna have to come up here and do it yourself. I'm gonna die without using a computer.
Is that right?
Oh, I do a little bit, but I
got an email from you.
Got it from my wife.
Oh, is that right? Oh, is that what it was?
Or Mark or someone else. It wasn't from me.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Okay. Yeah.
When we had the nursery, you know, we got a computer, which back in the early 90s was a hot rod at that time. You know, it's mid to early, probably 92, 93, somewhere in there. And it was considered a fast, you know, up to date. And so I'd go online at that time, and we were propagating we grew a lot of our own plants, propagated our own plants, just like we do our grapes. We grow all of our grape plants.
You grow them all?
Yeah. We self-root everything around here. We don't use any clones or grafting, because if we freeze down, you freeze down to the below the graft, and then you end up with just rootstock. And so we self-root everything. We don't have a disease problem like they've got down in the Willamette Valley.
So no phylloxera or...
Not yet. Knock on wood, we just don't have that problem yet.
Gosh, so I've been changing my shoes between vineyards out here for nothing, huh?
Oh, you're fine.
Okay.
Well, maybe if you came from down there.
Well, it's like
but it's like plant material we get, or wood we get, our certified plant material is mainly what we use, and it comes out of California. We just have them send sticks. And they're heat treated and certified disease free before they come out of California. Oregon's real strict because of the nursery industry about what can come in here.
Yep.
And so all of our wood is certified, heat treated, and then we self-root everything. We grow all of our own plants, and then we'll take cuttings and take them on from there.
Yeah.
But we have very, very little disease problem. Right now. There was a little bit because when some of these guys started getting big and started growing a lot of stuff fast, they get plants from whoever, because they just needed plants.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit in, but they're pretty good about keeping an eye on it and knocking it back when they get it. So.
And the diseases that you get, like what, what are...
Oh, leaf roll is one of them that makes the plant turn red. I know where I've got one in the field or two in the field up there, and that's pretty much.
Is that a virus or what is that?
Yeah, it's something in the ground and it's spread by. I just know what the name of it is.
And it's leaf roll. That's where that leaf.
It actually doesn't roll up. It just kind of turns the plant red. But they call it.
And so that's where, like, you see, like an individual plant.
Yeah, you just go get rid of the plant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it doesn't spread, and we haven't had any real problems, but everybody's pretty cautious now about using certified clean wood, so that we don't bring this stuff in. If you're bringing rooted plants in from places, they have to really be treated good, because it's the soil that might come on that stuff that comes in. That's why we grow all of our own plants. We just get the wood and grow our plants. But University of Washington, or Washington State University, has got a big ag program up in Prosser, and they've got a mother block for nursery plants. I mean, for nursery plants to supply to the nurseries to grow. And and they've had problems with some bad plant material, and they eliminate it, but they make sure everything that goes out to the nurseries is clean material.
Yeah.
And so we've been able to pretty much stay away from the disease end of it.
And so you're growing your plant material like in these hot houses right here?
Yeah, we started them in, and I've got some on the other side right now that I grew for some other people, and they didn't take them, so I'm going to plant some more this fall, winter. So
I'd like to actually photograph that if I could.
Oh, I didn't grow them very good, but you can photograph them. We'll find some good ones for you to take a picture of.
Okay.
But they're but what I've done is beans. These guys, I grew them in the spring. We take cuttings in January or February. We were a little late taking cuttings, and then try to get the plants ready for the 1st of May. So they're rooted and grown, ready to go in the ground in May or early summer. And then these guys don't take them, and so I'm stuck with all these plants. Well, I've got all the money into them. It takes a lot of time to go out and cut the cuttings and take them and root them and get them started in the greenhouse and then get them growing. So I don't fertilize them. I don't need a big plant in this little pot, because they were made to go to the field in a 2-inch plug about that deep.
Yeah.
And I don't need a great big plant sitting in that little pot. So I just don't fertilize them. Don't do it. Everything that I wouldn't do in the nursery.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how to make them not grow, and I made them not grow. So, but they're still alive. I can pump them up when we go to plant.
Yeah.
But I don't want them growing out here like that.
So what's been like the biggest success? Something that you said, wow, this really worked. In the vineyard, or in even maybe in the winemaking or something. Something that you just felt, just was a 10.
I think just being fortunate. I think, I just think, we're pretty adamant about getting the best grape in the winery that we can, and the only wow I can say is that we've been extremely successful in the marketplace. I mean, the wines have been really, really good, and I can just say, shit luck. But then I think, no, it really wasn't, because we went and we got grapes from here and there, and we had 60-some lots of wine in here last year. 30 some of them were ours, but we crushed for other people last year. We're not going to do it anymore. But so we have 30-some lots, close to 40 lots of wine of ours, and there might be 6 Syrah lots. So when we keep them separate, and they might be small lots, and we'll keep them separate, and then we just are diligent about, anal about putting our wines together. We're going to make a Syrah. Okay, we get out our Syrahs, and we got our base, and we know what's good, and we start putting them together and blending and trial until we're going to make 1,000 cases of Syrah. This is what we're going to be. It's going to be 5% off that vineyard, 10% off of that one, 50% off of that one. And so I think that we've been really fortunate because we've done that. We've had that diversity. A lot of wineries will have an estate wine, but they're only working with one Merlot. Well, I'm working with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different lots of Merlot, 6 lots of
Wow. Uh-huh.
Merlot. So I have 6 different lots of this Merlot to make this Merlot that we're going to make
And so you're blending all those then
together.
together.
Yeah, and I don't care if it's estate, I don't care if it's Walla Walla Valley, I care that it's the best that we can make it.
Uh-huh.
And so it all starts back with the soil health, with the plant health, and putting the very best quality grape into the winery that you can, because you can't make great wine out of shitty grapes, period.
Yeah.
And so I'm come from the farm end, so that's kind of I enjoy it. I enjoy being the tractor. I enjoy being out in the field. I get to go up and down every row and see I'm hands-on every part of this deal.
Uh-huh.
And so I get to see every row, every plant. I get to see the problems before they get out of control.
Yeah.
And and I enjoy that end of it. And I just brought Doug on in the winery, and he's a UC Davis guy.
Uh-huh.
And he's good. He's never had his chance, and now he's got it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But I'm overwhelmed. I'm getting too old for this shit.
And and Doug is like, he's going to be the viticulture
Oh,
guy,
we're going to call him the winemaker.
Uh-huh.
Because I also don't show up at the tastings, at the tasting rooms. I don't do winemaker dinners.
Uh-huh.
I don't do that stuff. I might go to a legislator and try to get some legislation done.
Yeah.
But I don't do public stuff.
Yeah.
I just could care less about it. I don't care if my picture's in the paper. I don't care if I get recognized for doing anything when it comes right down to it.
Yeah.
But so someone's got to do that stuff. I got a great marketer, lives down in Portland, Mark Retz.
Uh-huh.
And he's out in the public all the time.
Yeah.
He does all this stuff, and Doug does this stuff.
Uh-huh.
So he's starting to go out in the public and do these things.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And my wife does it. My wife's great.
Huh.
And
Well, that's nice to have marketing people around you, or people that like
well,
doing
he's a
that
part owner. I gave him 5% of everything, because he started when we first started this. The idea, we had the nursery. We knew we were going to sell it, because my wife would go up there in March when we'd open, and we did Christmas trees and poinsettias and all that.
Uh-huh.
And she was up there 7 days a week through Christmas, up till
Yeah.
Christmas. And she'd come home and she'd say, "Have you sold this place yet?" So we sold it to a kid that, and we had the grape deal coming on already.
Uh-huh.
And so, where were we going with that?
You're talking about like ownership and
Oh, yeah.
5%.
And so the idea when we first started was that, I didn't want to really be the hands-on guy.
Uh-huh.
I really didn't want to do this. And so, but I didn't mind putting it together and helping, overseeing. So there are going to be 4 people involved. I would oversee and I would help everybody get established. There would be a winemaker, a marketer, and a vineyard manager.
Uh-huh.
And then I would oversee it and I would back them. And the idea was each of those other 3 people were going to have vineyards, so that everybody would have a vested interest from the ground up.
Uh-huh.
Well, Mark was the guy that was a friend of my nephew's, and he was into wine marketing, and he just thought this was great. So he's been on board since the very beginning on it. Chris, probably shouldn't say anything, but Chris Manick, who's Seven Hills manager, that's off the record. I
Okay.
wouldn't mention that. But he was going to be our oversight
Huh.
on the vineyard end of it.
Uh-huh.
Not hands-on in the vineyard, but run the crew, make sure things got done to
Yeah.
oversee the vineyard. Then we had another guy that was going to be the winemaker. Well, he stayed on with us for a little bit. Chris was having divorce problems. Seven Hills expanded so much he just couldn't do it. Norm was taking really good care of him, and he's got more than he can handle out there. So I ended up with doing the vineyard end, which was fine. And nobody really stepped up and took advantage of. I was going to back it, back them, plant them, the grapes, and we had all the equipment for everybody to set their own little vineyard up. Well, nobody did it. I ended up doing all of the vineyards. And so then the winemaker worked with us for a couple years, and then he quit right in the middle of harvest, and that's when I started making wine. But I had there's a lot of good winemakers around here, and I've got good friends. I was able to call people and talk to them. I learned the lab work and did all that. And if I had a couple people that would come over and we'd taste through and look for problems and what to do. And you know, I just learned. I knew the mechanics end of getting it into the bin, but I wasn't into the feeding, the yeast, the fermentation, the additives, the keeping the wine safe and all that.
Yeah.
And I really learned a lot. And you know, we have a style now. You know? And
wow.
It's worked good.
Wow.
But it's more than I can handle. I never, in my wildest dreams, ever thought I would get to this. I mean, that was not what I had in mind.
Yeah.
I mean, not at all. And so now I need help. But as we were growing, we've grown so fast that, shit, I can't go, we've done this from the ground up. I can't afford to go out and hire, you know, these $50,000 plus a year people to do this.
Yeah.
And so Mark has been underpaid in the marketer, so I gave him 5% of everything that we have. You know, the wine, the winery, the land, so that he has a vested interest. He can promote us, he can promote the vineyards, he can promote, you know, the winery, the wine, and not feel like he's promoting a vineyard when he's not going to get anything out of it, you know, because the vineyard is the wine, you know. And so that just solves any conflict of interest. But, you know, and Doug, if Doug works out, I'll do the same thing for him. I'll do the same thing with him. Because he's not getting paid what he needs to be paid either. But he's getting the recognition. At some point, he's got to make wine. I don't give a shit how much book learning you got. I never had any in this wine deal. I never took a class. And
but you had good connections, and you could
I had
make
good
phone
connections,
calls.
and you know, it's not nuclear science. You know, when it comes down to doing it, I mean, there's, you know,
But
what I lack. I've got a great nose, but what I lack is a palate.
I was gonna
So
say-
I need these people with palates to come over, and when I got a good friend that she's really good, and she can go through and she tells you, now this is, you picking this up, yeah, that's what it is, you know. And when you're tasting wine with people that really have that palate, can explain what it is that you're tasting, then you go, oh yeah, and pretty soon you start picking it up. And I'm getting to where, you know, but I'm impatient with the whole damn deal. I'd rather have someone that's got a better palate and let them do the blending, and then when it gets down like towards the final stuff, you know, start working with them on the very last final blend, you know. And I'll just make the blends for them and let them do it. They're better than I am. And,
What's been like, you know, like probably the biggest disappointment that you've had? Something that you just went, oh.
The government.
In what way?
You're dealing with so many different agencies. I mean, you know, they just drive you nuts. It's like having 12 wives, and you can't quite make any of them happy.
Now, what like, I'm trying to imagine.
Well,
like,
you're dealing with OLCC, federal government, every state that
federal
you ship.
government, like what do you do?
TTB, alcohol or Tax and Trade
Oh,
Bureau,
yeah,
it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, so you got your state OLCC, you got TTB, your federal alcohol, tobacco people. Then every state that you ship to, you got to deal with them. I've seen my wife fill out, she does all the paperwork on these things, and she's anal about it. And fill out an hour's worth of paperwork and send California a check for 58 cents. You know, because they got this excise tax, and then they got a use tax, and then it's DEQ and building codes and Department of Agriculture, and it goes on and on and on. And you can't water resources. You can't satisfy these people. I mean, if there's something just a little bit out of place, you know, I mean, it's their job to jump right in the middle of you until it gets taken care of. I don't have time for them. I absolutely cannot take care of my crew, my vineyards, and my wine, and my cats and dogs, and kiss those guys' ass. So I kind of put the blinders on with them, and if there's a problem, they'll come find me, and I'll deal with it then. It's easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission, because every time I've gone to them and tried to do something, it ends up being a damn nightmare. I just open up a can of worms, and then here we go, you know.
You know, that's interesting because, like, early on, you know, it was like the Oregon, and I forgot who it was, but you know, it was made that kind of basically the moat against the diseases coming into into Oregon. Watching
Right.
what came in and stuff like that, and that seemed like that was a good thing.
But it's the oversight that it takes the compliance that it takes to deal with all of them, because there's so many of them and they overlap themselves so much that you can't, it's like, why can't we have just one form? Like the taxes on the wine going to different states.
Yeah.
The trucks have what they call IFTA. It's an international fuel tax. And you have, every state has their tax amount.
Mm-hmm.
All they want's the money.
Yeah.
But every state has their tax amount. And so when you go into a state, you buy fuel in this state and you pay a certain amount of tax
Right.
when you buy fuel in that state, and you drive so many miles in that state. Either monthly, quarterly, or annually, you fill out this IFTA form to your home state, but it lists all the states. You keep a logbook, and so you bought fuel in a state, you paid so much tax to that state. Well, you didn't buy any in that state, but you drove in that state. But you didn't use all your fuel up in this state, so you get some of that back, and your home state takes this form and then disperses it to the rest of them. It's a simple system.
Yeah.
But they haven't done it in the alcohol business. And they
Wow.
should. It doesn't matter what your tax is. Let's not report to all of you. Let's have a central, let's report in our own state and let our state dispense
up or,
it,
dispense it or,
to wherever it needs to go.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the other states that are shipping wine into here. So, that needs to change.
Man.
But then the other biggest part, never in my wildest dreams that I thought it would cost this much money and take this much time. Of course, we talked about the time end of it.
Yeah.
But it's just a suck hole for money and time.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I mean, I'm really, boy, if we weren't starting to come around to where we could start hiring some of this done, I'm gonna go nuts.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest disappointment, is that it didn't work out the way we have it planned. That we didn't have the people on board the way it was set up to be on board. It just fell apart, and I ended up with the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
except for the marketing end. So,
Yeah. So you got it all on your back.
it all smells good. I mean, from a distance. And then when you get right in the middle of it, boy, I tell you, it doesn't smell quite as good. But it looks good. It looks glamorous. You think, everybody thinks, oh, winemaker, and all this.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not in for any glamour. I mean, a lot of the guys are, or the stature or anything else. I just want to make good wine and be successful at what we do. And
Well, you're coming at it. A lot of like winemakers and vineyard guys don't come at it from the agriculture side. They're not farmers. I mean, like in the Willamette Valley, most of them like came from high tech, or they came from some other kind of area. Very few of them actually are farmers.
they want it. It looks like a glamorous deal.
Yeah.
And if you've got the money, that's a good way to go at it.
Well, it's a good way to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's a suck hole.
Yeah, for the
And
first
so,
time in how many years.
it's just like these are spatial poly tanks that we use, but I can get 2 or 3 of them for the price of one stainless tank.
Yeah.
3 of them for the price of one stainless. And they're a dense Palmer, they're fine, But it's not glamorous.
Yeah.
But these guys that come in with, the money, that's all stainless steel, and it's all colored cement and rock finishes, and I mean, that log building is a splurge. That cave was a splurge. But, it's nothing compared to what some of these guys are doing. Millions of dollars that they're spending.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I just,
Well, you're coming from a whole different place. You're coming as a farmer, and you've got you're trying to. It's a business. You're trying.
And I'm not good at the paper. That's another problem.
Uh-huh.
So just keeping up with all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
At some point, I need a daughter-in-law or someone that'll come in here and take care of that end of it too. Cecil, you have to do this. Sign this one.
Yeah. I think that's probably like all the questions I can think of, for right now.